Subscribe to AmpCode and ring the notification bell to get the latest content.
Enough talking, right? We need to write our first Spark application. So I know you are excited and you know all the basics. So now let's first set up the development environment of Apache Spark on your PC and also start writing our first Apache Spark code in Python, because I know you love Python and Python is very readable language. So that's why we are sticking to Python here. So first we will install Apache Spark on your PC. We will have some IDE which is like integrated development environment on your system, so that it will be get easier to code and debug the errors. And also we are going to have it using the Anaconda, which is the whole complete package which gives us the Spider RDD to work with Apache PySpark. But you can choose any type of IDE here. You can choose PyCharm as well, which is also the favorite of every professional out there, but we will stick to Anaconda package because it will gives us the capability, it will gives us the whole package with the Jupyter notebook, which is also great for data science purposes, and also the Spider, which is also good for beginners. So without wasting any time, let's jump on to setting up your Apache Spark on your local machine. Okay, so on the installation part, we already have installed Apache Spark on our system. So we have extracted the jar file and also set up the environment variables. But we cannot run our code and develop a script in the command line itself, right? We cannot use the Spark shell or the PySpark command prompt. We need some IDE to be able to work with PySpark and also develop our models. So that's why now we are going to set up Anaconda distribution and start writing our first Spark script. So the first one will be very simple for your basic understanding. So the first thing is just head back to your favorite browser and just type Anaconda distribution download. Okay, so once you search for Anaconda download, so here we have the anaconda.com site. So it's a free download, you don't need to pay any fees here. So we just download it for Windows. So I'm really sorry I don't have the Mac PC around, but I'll give the link for Mac installation as well. So I'll just click on install and it will just download the file. It's a pretty huge file, it's a 1 gigabytes of file. So just wait for it to complete. Okay, so our file has been downloaded, so just click for it. It's a really simple installation. So you just have to provide a specific directory where you are going to extract Anaconda distribution. So that is like the only part you have to do here. So you just have to put like next, agree, and also just install for just me. It's recommended. So as you can see in your username, there might be some space. So that may cause an issue during your installation. So I'll highly recommend you to give some path to your Anaconda distribution setup. So I'll just go ahead and just go navigate to my C drive. So I'll just go to, and in the C drive I'll make a new folder which is called as Anaconda distribution, and just click OK and just give next here, and I'll also create the start menu shortcuts and click on install. So it will get installed in like 2 to 3 minutes maximum depending upon your system performance. So just wait for it to complete. Okay, so as you can see the installation has been completed. So just click on next and also next, and we'll just finish it. So it will start the Anaconda navigator here. So we just don't need that. Click on quit, and also we have to start validating our PySpark installation. So for that we'll run a simple code here. We are going to import our PySpark module and also just create a data frame on top of it and see how it works. So as you can see, it has brought up whole lot of tools which we can utilize to develop. So as you can see, we got the Anaconda notebooks, we got the Jupyter notebook, and also the Spider IDE, which is also a basic level IDE for every beginner out there. But in this lecture, let's focus on the tool which is Jupyter notebook, which is like favorite tool for every data scientist. So we will launch Jupyter notebook and start coding our first PySpark application. Okay, so to able to kick off our Jupyter Hub, or we can say Jupyter Notebook, you just have to go to your search box and type like Jupyter Notebook. So it will come as an application, but it just kicked off a command line and you are able to work with Jupyter Notebook on your web browser. So I'll just hit like Jupyter Notebook, and once it is kicked off, it will automatically launch a separate web page where you can access your Jupyter notebook. So here we are going to just create a new folder. So I'll just create a new folder here, and let's say in our new folder, let's create a file. So here we are going to create a notebook here, which is like version Python 3. And here we can able to work with our PySpark. So the first step is like you have to import the PySpark from the PySpark.sql module. So here we are just going to import like PySpark.sql. We are going to import the Park session. So that will be the first step. And also on the below side, we are also going to import some of the types, because our data frame is built on some raw data that we already have. So for that purpose, we have to define a schema for ourselves. So for defining the schema, there are few procedures that you have to import. So like from the PySpark.sql.types, you have to import like the struct type, then we have the struct field, then we have the string type, and we also have like the integer type. So these are the only procedures we need for this lecture. So for executing it, just control enter here. So once that is done, just create another tab and we will continue writing our code here. So the first step of every Spark application is creating the Spark session. So that is the integral part, and through this Spark session, you are able to create data frame, you are able to create RDDs and apply all the transformations and actions on top of it. So the first step, this is, you have to remember, the first step of every Spark application is creating the Spark session. So we are going to store this Spark session in some variable. So let's assign it Spark here, and we'll create the Spark session, which is present in Spark session dot builder. So we are going to use the builder method here to create it, and also we can give like app name. So this is like the name for your application which you can monitor. So hence in the real world production use cases, we have like several clusters and like hundreds of developers will submit their Spark application. So to able to monitor it, there is like a centralized UI for monitoring all your resources or applications. So for that, app name will be easier to track your application and then debug and see its progress. So I'll just give some app name here. So since it's our first tab, so I'll just give it as first app here. You can give any name, and you have to use the get or create method here, get or create. So this method means that it will, if it already has a Spark session created in this application, it will get that and use it further, or just create a new one for us. So you just have to trigger it. So it will create the Spark session and you can use that Spark session in your further process. So it will take like maybe 1 minute. So yeah, it already get completed. So here we need our data and we need our schema. So data frame has two major parts required. So that one will be the actual data and second will be the schema. Schema means it will define what are the columns as well as what data type you have to put on that specific columns. Okay, so once you create the Spark session, let's assign some schema to it. So we have to create a data frame on top of a CSV file that I already have on my system. So for that, we have to define a schema. We can also use the internal tool which is infer schema. So using that, it will automatically infer the schema from that CSV file. If it has the header, then it will take all the headers as the column names of the data frame. So it has the capability, but also we can use like manual schema assignment using this struct type, struct field, as well as string and integer types to define our columns and their data types. So that we are going to see now. So here we are going to use as schema equals to, we are going to use the struct type method here. So just type like struct type, and in here we can go ahead and create the schema here. So just we have to struct field, and using the struct field you have to define all the fields. So here we have like the user ID first. So our file has like basically 4 columns. It has the user ID, it has the name, age, as well as the friends that a particular user has. So we have the user ID which has like integer type data type to it. So you can type like integer type here, and the nullability of the column. So it can also have the null value. So I have kept it as true just to keep it very simple. And also on the next line, you simply have to give all the necessary inputs. So like that, we have another column here. So I'll just copy and paste them. We have the name of it, user, and also we have the age of the user, and we have the friends column, and also here we have the name as the string type. So just make those changes accordingly. So it totally depend on what type of data you're dealing with. So here the age and the friends will have also the integer type field here. So I'll just run it. Okay, so our schema has been defined. So to able to read a CSV file, we have to use the spark.read method here. So here we are utilizing our Spark session stored in the Spark variable. So this CSV file, so we can give some name to our data frame, which is like people. So people data frame will have the spark.read method to read the file. So we are reading the file and we have to give the format of the file. So the format of the file is the CSV file, which is comma separated file, and it's a pretty popular and very readable and simple to understand file, and it's easy to work with. But in the data community, we have another files like Parquet files, Avro files, ORC files that we are going to see in the next lecture, because these files are very storage efficient as well as they process the data gracefully if you submit some SQL query on top of it, because some of them are like column based file formats like Parquet. So that we are going to see in the next lecture, where we will talk about optimizing your Spark application for handling big data. So basically our file is a CSV file. So let's give that, and after that it has the schema of it. So the schema is basically the my schema, or here we have seen it as the schema. And here, like on the next line, we have few options here. So the first option will be like the path of the file. So we'll give like the path of the file. So the file is present in this path only where we have created our folder. So we'll give like the CSV file name, which is like fakefriends.csv. So since this file is like a dummy data, the file name will be fakefriends.csv. So once you execute the, so I'll be giving this file and the code in the description below too, so that you can just go ahead and kick off your first Spark application. And at the last stage, we have like the load method. So load method really loads the data into our data frame. So the load method we will use, and once it is done, if it looks good, let's execute it. So as you can see, our data frame has been created. So I'll just go ahead and write some procedure on it, because it does what it does is it has all the lazy evaluation. So it loaded the file, but it didn't actually given any output here. So since it's a lazy evaluation, we have to kick off some action. So here we have like people.print schema. So this print schema action will get the schema of the data frame. So which means that we'll get the column names and all the data types and the nullability of those columns. As you can see, we got like the user ID, which is integer, nullable is true for all this, and also we have the name, age, friends with their respective data types. So if you want to check the data and the count between and the count of this data frame, we can simply go ahead and execute the count operation on top of this data frame. So it will take maybe like 10 to 15 seconds. So as you can see, we got 500 records present on this, and if you want to see the records actually present in that data frame, you can directly just go ahead and give like people.show. So show is another type of action for data frames, and let's get some 10 records maybe. So I'll just show it, and as you can see, this is the data present in your data frame. So this is like the building block, and like this is the base of your study. So once you got the data frame, the possibilities are endless. You can do all sorts of analytics operation. You can apply filter, the aggregation method, group by method, everything you can do here. So the same thing you can do in SQL, you can do anything in PySpark. And also there are a lot of supports and functions present in the PySpark to able to work with data very efficiently, and it takes the advantage of the parallel clustering which SQL can't, right? So that's why it's a very scalable solution. And you may think that this is just 500 records, right? So because you are just getting started, but when you will get your first role as a data engineer and you are going to work in a real production environment, you are going to deal with millions, not millions, but billions of records in your data frame. So that's why these basic things are really important for you. So once you get to the basics, you will able to write your code, and not just a rookie code. You will able to write a more efficient and optimized code, because you will know how it works under the hood and how many groundwork every data node has to do to get us the expected output. So for that, we are going to see how to optimize the code as well in the next lecture. So next lecture is going to be very vital. So just stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
So that's it for today. I'll see you in the next lecture.